Hello everyone, Resident Gooner and Gacha Gamer Dushna here, and being a Gooner and a Boomer, I couldn't skip this gacha game called Horizon Walker, which is a free-to-play turn-based RPG from a Korean developer, Gentle Maniac. Now the only reason I installed the Korean spyware on my SSD is because of its unique 3D models, which is a nice hook. Now, full disclosure, this is not a full review, more like a first impression, because I got bored out of my mind playing it for an hour. So here are my impressions, which hopefully will help you decide whether or not to download the game yourself. First of all, props to the developers for including the option menu before you start the game. This is the personal pet peeve of mine, but I hate when you start a game and it throws you into the cutscene and then the gameplay right away, usually in the wrong resolution and with the blur turned up. I mean, seriously, is there anyone on this planet who uses blur? That's a tangent for another day. But yes, here you can set it up as you want before it starts. Of course, it starts the game with an obnoxious quote, because that's the only way subpar gacha games know how to start their story. Let's mark that off on my shit gacha bingo card. That's right, this is 18 plus adult gacha game bingo card that I created. Feel free to use it. The game starts with a little Death Stranding style cutscene and a walk-in session, which is not representative of the main gameplay at all. I might also add that the game does not really account for you playing on PC, and the controls are explained for mobile. Thanks. We cut to the city under siege, being approached by the wave of generic grotesques. Now, just by the first look and without knowing the story at all, this is copy-pasted. Our world is over because of the invasion and only few or one city remain. Please protect it. You know, your Nikkeis, your Punishing Grey Ravens, your Snowbreak containment zones, and so on. This is where we get spooked by Tits McGee over here, who is a bit underdressed for the current happenings. Now, before we get further, let's talk about the models. They are not bad. At least they look unique and have appropriate amount of goon tits bouncing and proportions that look like a couple of bowling balls attached to a mop. I guess you can judge yourself just by looking at the screen, but the animations on the other hand are dog shit. Look at this, her walk cycle can barely hold itself together. The skirt is clipping, her legs seem to have to share 10 frames between them, and it looks like she's going to fall over any second now and eat shit at the asphalt with her face. Now, look at this. What is this shit? Am I watching a TikTok? Should I add some sounds? Well, here you go, here's your short for the day. And the same animation quality applies to pretty much everything. Characters barely move on screen because the devs knew they would fuck it up. Any of the 3D porn solo creators can make better shit in their sleep. It seems to me that the models are done and meshed and skeletoned very poorly, which makes them look fine in stills but completely fucked in animations. Anyway, after she topples over like a sack of potatoes, we arrive and we get a little combat tutorial. Of course, we have to be overpowered here because, well, that's the only way we can do combat tutorials, exactly like everybody else. Scratch that off the bingo card. As I mentioned previously, this is a turn-based RPG with no real depth, at least as far as I could see. You move, you attack, maybe you use a spell. There are counterattacks, taunting, buffs, the usual galore. Now, I'm sure that the combat gets progressively more interesting as we get further and requires you to do proper level ups and weapon pulling, but from the first few missions I did, they were a snore fest. I mean, that's fine, first missions should be sort of the freebies, but my point is the combat is really not that fun to do, and I imagine it's not going to be fun 10 hours in. Of course, as with any game, there is an auto battler which defeats the entire purpose of even playing the game. I know it's a mobile game, and if you are playing it on the bus for some fucked reason, you want to just press a button and be done with it, but I still find problems with it. If you're going to automate everything anyway, why not make it a feature rather than a button press? Make them auto battle from the start, and our involvement is more like a gearing them correctly and so on, sort of like auto chess. But then after the combat introduction, we get stolen into the city where she expositions to us that we're a human god and we are very important and so on and so forth, upon which she asks us for a name. Another little annoyance that I have is, do not ask me to enter my last name. Why the fuck are you asking me that? I'm not going to use my real one, obviously. I will probably just use my alias, and my alias doesn't have a last name. This shit always gives me a pause. Like, what the fuck do you want me to enter here? Well, maybe it's just me. After having done that, we're introduced to Paimon. Well, this is a shameless. I swear, just the mere existence of Paimon ruined all the gacha games to come. Now, every gacha game must feature a mascot type character, usually a small one. Is there any reason there is a fairy flying around? Does she add anything to the story? It just makes me want to chuck her against the wall. Like, seriously. Thank God this game is not voiced, because she would be probably voiced by the most squeaky voice they could find in the office that day. So she shows up the pull-in system, well, the gacha system, which outside of being a bit confusing on its own, also had a seizure when I pulled and bugged out completely. Here's me struggling to understand not only its weird gacha system, but also why the game decided to stroke out. Wait, you have to pay for them? Certainly didn't skimp out on the ass department. What the fuck do I press?
개걸 등장! 농담이야.
What's going on?
반가워, 인수님.
What is this shit? The fuck do I press? I had no idea what happened. Did I draw them or not? Just a few words about the gacha system. Apparently when you pull, you don't have to accept everything you get from the pool. You buy it individually from a pool. Now I sat there with this information for some time, but I see no reason for this system to exist. I suppose they tried something unique, but not in an area which was required to be unique. Pooling in gacha is instant gratification system which worked for ages. When I pull, I want to get those items. I don't want to pay more in order to acquire them. And I understand that the point is to sort of not waste money or something, but it's so awkwardly done I didn't really understand any of it. After a restart, we return to the game only for it to dump its exposition load on our faces like it's a fucking Japanese bukkake video, but I'm pretty sure you already know the story. Portals appeared everywhere and monsters started appearing out of them, killing everything. I'm sure you read Solo Leveling, for fuck's sake. That piece of shit infected everything with a portal fatigue. But there are also good portals which we get, elves, fairies and other creatures to help us. With all this established, the secretary chick explains to us that we are unique. The thing is, the more you fight with the creatures, the more sanity you lose, so you need to either take a break or, well, die and transformed into them. That is unless they fight with you, the human god, so everybody wants to fight with us because of that, and we get a selection of 4 girls to add to our roster. Don't worry, you get all of them eventually. With this in mind, let's talk designs. Well, they are boring. That's the best word I could come up with. They're not great, they're not horrible, they don't offend me, they're just so generic, they're not even worth mentioning. There's not much to discuss, of course there's fan service, but I guess the bigger problem for me is none of these characters look as if they are living in this world, where most of the humanity died and they have to fight daily to save the city. Now, I know this game goes for a Goonin demographic, but in this case, why make the story so grim? You can either A, make the story not so dark and include these designs, or B, create Gooner designs that are appropriate for the settings. You can absolutely make some great looking armor pieces that fit the world they live in. But no, they're generically just okay, which makes it boring at best and creates an awful contrast at worst. After choosing, we are finally let go and we can check out the main screen. Now, I do want to give the game some credit. The main menu doesn't look that bad. I like that all the options neatly fit into the phone. There's not a cascade of glowing buttons with red dots on them spitted across the screen with the same care and attention I spit on my cock during my gooning sessions. No, it's all neatly organized and doesn't offend the old eye. There's of course the chatting system, the level up screen, reward, store pools. Everything is pretty much self-explanatory if you ever played a gacha game. So yeah, overall good job on the design of the HUD. After clicking around a bit, we're introduced to the first sexual mechanic of the game, if I can even call it that. Massages, which is pretty uneventful. She lies down fully dressed, upon which we, well, touch her. Don't expect her to throw ahegao faces or double V signs or anything like that. There is a slight dent that appears as you move your cursor, and that's pretty much it. I don't know if this is as spicy as the game gets, but I didn't discover anything more after an hour of playing. So that's pretty much it. That's the game in the beginning, and after that we just grind missions until we probably meet a roadblock and we need to increase levels and grind for materials for a few days, just normal gacha things. So is this game worth your time? No, I would say no. Between the weird gacha mechanics, generic storytelling, and uninteresting designs, overall the game is just boring. I did not want to continue at all, even for the video. I suppose it will play better on mobile as a mild distraction, but nothing more than that. And even if you take it as a goon game, my small cog didn't even react to it at all. Jane Doe alone gives me a bigger stiffy than the entire cast of this game. The values of the good design, right? Anyway, thank you for watching, join my stream, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Hope you enjoyed this new format of the video. Probably nobody's gonna see it as per usual, probably it's gonna get blocked by YouTube, but if you are interested for me to check out some other Goonin gacha games, then let me know in the comments. I read all the comments, all one of them that is usually sent to me because I have a small channel, but it's fine. Someday it'll be big. Someday it'll be big, and I'll get a lot of fucking advertisements from the gacha selling stores, and they give me lots of money, which I'm going to probably use on alcohol and food, because that's the only thing I fucking like in life. Maybe I'll buy myself the good old masturbator, but you know, I've tried using those and they're not really that great, because after a good session, I just, you know, want to wash my hands, wash my cloth and be done with it. I don't want to stand there washing my sperm.
一招尝遍这万千般变化，融合百味的大道。要煎炒换火灶，心急成锅吃不着。桌上名医随便叫号，日啖180烧。讲究有诀窍，忙不修炼莫打扰。学习。